On everybody, it's your boy Inside 11 Man, and right now we're talking about, are we our urges or the observers of our urges, right? Because you can have a lot of urges, you can have a lot of instincts that play out as, traits that you may be attached to that manifest as behaviors that are really non-beneficial for your life and shit like that, right? So within that question, we want to find out, or we want to know, are we actually our urges? Are we actually our instincts? Are we actually the mind? Or are we actually the observer that created the mind, that created the body, that created that trait by attaching ourselves to that trait, right? And my position is that we are the observers of those instincts, and we are the position of basically we're the observers of those motherfucking instincts and urges, right? So we are the observers of our instincts and urges. The mind forms connections and may resonate with an experience based on some internal urge alignment that takes us in a direction, right? Because when you're experiencing your own instinct, when you're experiencing your own urges, that can come from, things that you may be internally aligned with that play out as, behaviors or things that you direct your awareness and energy towards. These are just things that we may have observed for a very long time, and we may have accumulated so much energy in that area to the point that that energy, that instinct, that urge is now like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Where now you're operating on this autopilot, and it's like when you forget that you're the observer, you can get lost in these clouds of thoughts and feelings and like really try to go down a rabbit hole of these thoughts and feelings, trying to figure out or trying to like dismantle or disarm these things, not realizing that you going deeper within those thoughts and feelings down that rabbit hole is the very same thing that's going to make that mind that you created, that trait, kind of like heavier, where it's just something that we're supposed to just move our observations away from, actually do something else rather than just continuously observe that shit from a previous past experience. Because if we're observing that shit from previous past experiences, then that's going to be the preconceived notion that we go forward with in the world. We're going to be thinking like, oh, shit's got to be done this way. Oh, this is how I'm supposed to do things. Not realizing that that's just an urge and instinct that we may have manifested, and it play out now as a trait. It play out now as a part of our character, and it just could be negative or positive depending on, what you choose to do about it, right? And your own individual alignments and whatever it is that, you've accumulated and shit like that, right? So as much as possible, we want to be aware and we want to forecast the direction that we are headed in, right? Because if we're not forecasting the direction that we're headed in via understanding those instincts and urges and what are we actually aligning with as a trait and where is that taking us, what we're about to manifest, then we're just going to manifest some negative shit. And it's going to be based upon not understanding that we're actually the observers of these fucking instincts. We're the observers of these urges. We're not these fucking things themselves. These things may surge up within you, but you're not these things. The more you don't participate in these things, let's say in these like demonic seeds that we may have planted early on and shit like that, and it may have already grown into like fruits, experiences, and you may believe that that's your life, but the less you participate in those thoughts and feelings, because I was doing that all the fucking time now when I think about it and shit, right? So the less you participate going down that rabbit hole, you're going to be more light and more free. Your mind is going to be more free to actually go be and do something else. But as long as we sit back and participate in these old thoughts and feelings and shit like that, we're going to always create our reality based upon that standard, based upon that preconceived notion, right? So it's like, that's some shit to like get out of. That's some shit to get out to understand that you're not the fear that's fucking surging within you. That's just something that you may have accumulated, but you're not that. You're not the stress that's accumulating in you. You may be like, just, thinking too hard and then you become stressful. But that's why it's important to understand the multidimensional aspect, the multidimensional nature of the mind, and that we're just observers of these things. So there's a time of the day when you fuck, there's a time of the day where you work, there's a time of the day where, all these things are done, and there's a time of the day for these things, and we have to be free enough to experience these different transitions and not necessarily get lost in a transition and stay stuck there, right? Because then we're going to be accumulating like fucking negative shit, and we don't want to accumulate negative shit if you're fucking aware of what you're doing and shit as much as possible, right? So urges and instincts come and go, but based on the relationship we develop with ourselves, aka what we choose to align ourselves with people, places, and things, and the people, places, and things we hang out with is always going to be a manifestation of our state of mind, our self-image, our mental disposition, and shit like that, or traumas that we maybe still into, or whatever the fuck it is, right? Because birds of the same flock fly together, and it's not just with people, it's also just with thoughts and feelings, right? The friends that you have manifested may carry similar traits, similar aspects, similar ways of conduct, a similar self-image, similar insecurities and shit like that. And that's why we hang out around those people. But as soon as you try to change yourself, you're slowly and surely gonna go your own direction while they go their own direction. Because it's now, because things are not just things we're into external, like drawing, or making art, or making videos, or making content, or whatever that you may be into. Things could just be thoughts and feelings as well, and shit like that. So when I say birds of the same flock together, it's like when you walking around, you're carrying your thoughts and feelings, and what you resonate with is the shit that you've aligned yourself with. So it's when you manifest that shit externally, it's don't even be surprised, because that's the shit that you have aligned with internally and shit. You know what I'm saying? So basically what I'm saying is, we may develop synergies with certain traits, be it an animalistic nature or a higher angelic nature that takes us away from our purpose or closer to our purpose, right? Like fear, for example, is an animalistic nature. That shit will probably take you away from your purpose. Not liking yourself is probably some low animalistic nature that probably take you away from your purpose and shit like that. Having a bad self-image in general could be an animalistic nature that may, or just a perception that's not in truth. You know what I'm saying? It's bias from your own point of view. You're biased about yourself or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's the more we can get away from these synergies that we may have developed with these traits that come up as these surges, as these urges, as these instincts that we're really supposed to be slowly and surely transitioning and separating away from, then we're going to be able to actually participate in the shit that we want to participate in, because we're no longer so mentally invested in the shit that's actually bad for us. And here's the thing, you might even choose the shit that's actually fucking bad for you willingly and be yeah, you know what, it's easier to be a loser than it is to be a fucking winner, and actually go about your life in a purpose fucking way, right? Where it's and it's going to be purely up to you. But the most fascinating thing about it is that it's literally, I was reading Think and Grow Rich earlier when I was at work, right, by Napoleon Hill, and they were talking about how the same price you pay for failure is the same price you pay for success. Think about it, a crackhead, and there's memes about this all over the internet right now and shit like that, right? People talk about, yeah, man, crackheads don't sleep. They just get this crack and they just keep going throughout the day, So it's okay, if a crackhead is so passionately, aggressively invested into smoking that crack, and they're willing to do anything to get their hands on that crack, do you know what they're willing to do to get their hands on that money? Man, I've seen this crackhead on the fucking internet carrying a fucking fridge with one arm while they're on their bike, just biking somewhere, probably go to the junkyard or some shit. But you see what I'm saying? So it's the same price you pay for failure is really the same price that you pay for success. It's just going to be a matter of perception, and whether you're into some type of, you have a synergy with a trait that's coming up as an instinct and a surge that you may be attached to, that you think, okay, this has to be my life. Otherwise, then, it's because whatever you believe is possible, whatever you perceive, that's just going to be your life and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So it gets really interesting, because it's going to be up to the individual to decide, okay, damn, it's all really the same thing. Because look, to be homeless, to be honest, there's a system to get there. It's a way of life, and it's the same effort as working on whatever you need to work on to actually get to where you need to get to. It's all really the same shit. To fail, it's a step-by-step system. To succeed, it's a step-by-step system, and shit like that. So that's what's interesting. That's what's mind-boggling about it, is that it's literally up to you type of shit. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so with all that being said, we are not the instinct. We are not the urge. We are the observer that accumulates an attachment to a trait and shit like that, right? Where, if you're into astrology or you're into psychology, especially understanding profiling, personalities and shit like that, where, depending on your, let's just say astrological alignments and shit like that, you may have certain alignments with things that, that are traits that cause you more to fail. Or, you might, but it all depends on what you've accumulated and shit like that. But when you're aware, it's like there's no excuse. So it's like, you just gotta get to work at that point, and that's it. And with that being said, there won't be any video for Saturday and Sunday, and we'll be back on the shit Monday to fucking Friday. With that being said, peace out, everybody. I'll see y'all next Monday.